2025 is one of the biggest years for economic change, and whether you like it or not, things are happening all around us. And in this video, I want to talk about how the new global political system is going to impact the Belize economy. We're going to look at things like currency. We're going to look at tariffs. We're going to look at other economic factors that are impacting Belize and some of the biggest things that could change the Belize economy forever. I'm going to talk about in this video. Without further ado, let's talk about the Belize economy in 2025. Let's start off and talk a little bit about where we currently are. If you want to know where you're going, you got to know where you are. So from an unemployment rate standpoint, Belize has a low unemployment rate. Currently, we're at about 3.5% unemployment. When you contrast to places like the United States, which has around 4.1% unemployment, or Canada, which has 6.5% unemployment, we're in a great place. And some analysts project that the Belize unemployment rate could go as low as 2.1% in 2025. Great outlook on that front. Our year-over-year GDP growth for 2024, we saw a 10.5% increase in GDP. And the government has done a lot of great things moving into 2025 that we're going to talk about in this video that I think could be drivers to put Belize in an even better position in 2026. Our first chapter that I want to talk about, though, is currency and how the Belize currency operates and how the changes to the global economy are going to impact the Belize currency. So when we look at Belize, the dollar is the Belize dollar and it's pegged 2-to-1 to the US dollar. And one of the biggest advantages of this, especially as a real estate investor, is when you buy real estate in Belize, typically the exchange is done in US dollars, so we don't need to worry about major currency fluctuations. Now, let's talk, for example, about Canada, which right now the dollar is the lowest it's been since the pandemic. Pre-pandemic, it was about 10 years before that where the dollar was this low. I know my Canadian viewers out there right now, they're feeling the pain. It's just a reality that they have to deal with. And when you're investing in Belize real estate and you own your Belize real estate, obviously you're not going to need to feel that. It is a hedge against any currency fluctuations in your country. Mexican peso is much weaker than it typically is. And as a consumer, I'm actually looking to go buy some stuff in Mexico right now to take advantage of that. So maybe buy a car, maybe buy whatever it is, you can take advantage of this. But the main point I want to make with currency in Belize right now is that we have a very stable economy from a currency standpoint, especially with what's projected with the US dollar as it continues to gain momentum and get stronger in the United States and around the world right now. It's going to be a great thing for Belize real estate. Unless you're living under a rock, then you've heard the title of Chapter 2 a million times in the last few months. That's right, we're talking about tariffs. Now, I want to talk about the direct impact of this new policy and these new policies that are going to be rolled out in 2025 on the Belize economy. So, when we look at the proposed plan from a tariff standpoint, 60% on Chinese goods being imported to the United States. If you're a different country than China, it's about 10 to 20% on all goods being imported to the United States. So, there is going to be a global impact on this, and we're going to see exactly what that is. Even down to Canada and Mexico, where there is a proposed potential tariff of 25% on Canadian and Mexican goods, where there's been a free trade agreement for years in place there. Now, how does this impact Belize? Well, in order to properly assess that, we have to look at the Belize economy as a whole. So our biggest two industries are tourism, number one, and our second biggest industry is BPOs, business processing and outsourcing. So that'd be things like call centers. We have got an English-speaking population that can operate these type of industries and businesses here in the country, and it might be more affordable than stationing one of those in Canada or the United States or the UK or wherever it is, having a full English-speaking population here in Belize. So neither one of those two industries are impacted by tariffs. And actually a unique kind of interesting fact, shout out to Dustin Rennie, he was just telling me about this. When you look at the Belize economy, it's actually primarily built around tariffs. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, we don't have very high corporate tax. We essentially have, some of the lowest property taxes you're going to come across. Overall, our tax structure is very affordable, but where the tax is higher, typically it's going to be on your import duties because of different tariffs. So Belize has been benefiting from this system for years, and it's going to be interesting to watch the overall outlay of this. But at the end of the day, we're positioned very well to not have major impacts in our economy based on the changes to tariffs in 2025. Now we know a little bit about tariffs and currency, but let's look at the Belize economy. The number one driver, of course, that's tourism. So the news is great on the tourism front. For 2024, we actually saw our highest year of tourism ever recorded. It was up 20.8% from our previous year, so year over year from 2023 to 2024, and actually 11.9% higher from our peak year, which of course was 2019. Our total overnight tourist arrivals for the year was 562,405 arrivals to the airport. Now, we're not looking at cruise ship or any other stuff. This is simply people coming through the airport. And at this point now, we have 28 direct flights coming to Belize. So all great numbers. Our peak month was March with 69,202 overnight arrivals. And actually 11 out of 12 months had higher record-breaking months than before. So only 1 month didn't have a new record. Huge year from a tourism standpoint. And it's not only impacting that, it's actually impacting the trickle down of other industries. So even with our fishing industry and our agricultural industry down from the prior year, our GDP increased thanks to industries like tourism and construction, which is directly related to people coming to Belize, loving Belize, investing and building in Belize. We saw the biggest change in jobs in those industries. So huge. And of course, industries all based around accommodations, our accommodation services industries saw a 20.7% increase as well. So when we're looking at tourism, amazing year. And so far, 2025 is looking like it's going to be just like 2024, only a little better. So you now know we're coming off a record-breaking year in our largest industry in the country of Belize, but what is the government doing right now? Are they still proactive? Are they sitting on, waiting for something to happen? Are they just kind of celebrating the year? The good news is there are already some initiatives that we're seeing that could be major changes in the country of Belize. The number one I want to talk about is something called the Tren Maya. Now, if you've watched the news, then you've probably heard about this. It's the largest infrastructure improvement in the Western Hemisphere since the COVID pandemic. And what is it? Well, it's about 1,500 kilometers of train tracks that's been laid out through 5 states of Mexico. So about 966 miles of train. Now it's operational right now, goes through places like Merida, Cancun, all the way down to Chetumal, right by the Belize border, Playa del Carmen, Tulum, just to name a few. And one of the major impacts that we're seeing right now is just this being close to Belize, being able to travel around Mexico has improved. But why am I talking about this in our Belize economic outlook for 2025? Well, Prime Minister Johnny Briceño has been in Mexico numerous times recently with discussion of 2 potential proposals, both of which would bring the Tren Maya down to Belize. And this is a possibility. I'm not saying this is guaranteed going to happen. I'm just saying if you Google this, you will see it all over the news. So what are the 2 proposals? Well, the first proposal is to bring it about 4.2 miles into the country of Belize. It would cross the Rio Hondo. That's the river that divides Mexico and Belize. And the Tren Maya would then be able to go all the way into Belize. The secondary proposal would be to make it go even further all the way down to Guatemala, and it would be then a 3-country train system that would be able to move you from Mexico to Belize to Guatemala and so on and so forth. So why is this important from an economic standpoint? Well, last year, our Mexican tourism saw an increase of 46%. So it's directly impacting tourism-related industries. And also it gives you that ease of being able to go to Mexico. Maybe it's medical tours, or maybe you just want to go have a nice weekend in Tulum. Whatever the case may be, it really opens up and facilitates transitioning and traveling into one of the largest and fastest growing economies on planet Earth, which is, of course, the Mexican economy. That's why Chapter 4, it's all about the Tren Maya. That brings me to my final chapter, which is what are the biggest threats to the Belize economy? And as we look at it right now, obviously you guys know I'm biased. I'm extremely optimistic on Belize always. And with all the things that we're looking at right now, I think this is the beginning of some of the biggest years of Belize growth we've ever seen. As you guys know, I've been out here for essentially my whole life. I've watched Belize grow as I've grown, and it's amazing right now to feel the energy and just know that we're at that point of, feels like we're right at the hockey stick growth. We're just taking off. And I can say over years of being here, I've never really felt this way, but now we're on the radar in such a big way. The right decisions are being made. Tourism numbers are backing it up. So not only is it just something we're talking about, like the data is there and it's all backed up. So in my opinion, the biggest threat to Belize right now is really being able to keep up with the infrastructure to maintain all the tourism industry, all the growth, knowing that, you know, roads are going in. We're able to keep up with the power requirements of the place. We're keeping up with trash and, you know, setting up recycling plants. Stuff like this is our biggest challenge. And any of our viewers out there that have experience in this stuff, it's also our biggest opportunity. So any challenge is an opportunity. Any problem is an opportunity. And I would say for me, when I look at this, that's one of the biggest ones right now in 2025. So a little bit of an economic analysis for you guys. We'll close it there. Other than that, you know, I hope to see you in the next video, guys, and hopefully out here in paradise soon.